What if the survivors in Left 4 Dead were not able to be immune to the green flu? Would they live or would they die? That is something that I want to take a look at here today, my friends, in the next episode of Left 4 Dead 2 What If. For those of you guys that are new to this series, basically this series is meant to be very similar to the Disney What If series for Marvel, where basically we take a look at Left 4 Dead, at the storyline and the gameplay, and just a whole bunch of other fun stuff in general, and just simply ask the question of what if? What if X, Y, and Z was different, and if so, how would it play out? And today I want to specifically look at the idea of what if the survivors, the Left 4 Dead 1 crew and 2 crew, if they were not immune to the virus. Would they be able to live, or would they be able to die? If you guys end up enjoying today's video at the end, please drop a like to show your guys' support, and let me know what you guys would like to see a what if episode about next. But anyways, my friends, let's get on with today's video. So since this is going to be a episode about basically something that doesn't exist, I'm going to set some rules so that way it's not going to be completely ridiculously unfair odds for the survivors, and that they're most likely 99.9% going to die, because we all know that the green flu in Left 4 Dead is so crazy that some survivors, if they just go near you and they breathe the same air, they will turn. Yeah, that would be a really short episode. Alright guys, well they'd be screwed because they breathe the same air, and that's the end of the episode. Oh, I'm just kidding, don't worry, I'm not gonna end the episode that quick. But seriously, like legitimately it'd be so ridiculous to end up saying that they would die by just breathing the same air if they were not immune. We all know that that would not be like even feasible. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna be doing normal bites. So normal scratches, normal injuries, stuff that you would expect in the typical fictional apocalypse realm. So I thought to myself for a second, I was being like, okay, you know what? Let me actually try to do some research and see whether or not that any of the Left 4 Dead 1 or Left 4 Dead 2 crew members have been explicitly bitten or injured in such a way in the canon that would mean that if they were not immune, they would end up being infected. Now, I was looking at not only the Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2 intro, but I also looked at the Left 4 Dead 1 Sacrifice comic just to see if there's any explicit injuries that would mean that they are infected. And I did find some stuff that were outliers, and not everyone is safe. So let's go over the injuries that I found within the trailers and also the comics, and see which survivors would die if they were ending up no longer being immune. So going back to the Left 4 Dead 1 trailer, first off, Lewis is definitely screwed, because the hunter pouncing on him in the original intro trailer would just completely destroy chances of survival. He would end up having claw marks and scratch marks everywhere around his abdomen, and Lewis would definitely get infected, even if it wasn't by a traditional bite, just solely because the zombie scratched him and probably got to his blood. And if you also want to have more confirmation, just in case for whatever reason you don't happen to believe me, here is the Sacrifice comic, which just literally shows Lewis taking a look at a bite that he received on his arm when he got attacked in the Sacrifice comics by a zombie. And this is him, like, plain as day getting bit. There's no way around this. So, Lewis, my friend, unfortunately, you are going to be the first on the chopping block and would be considered dead. Now we move on to Zoe. Now, with Zoe's injuries, they're never, like, in the heat of the moment, like it was with Lewis, for example, where you can see it happen in real time. Anything that she talks about is more rather psychological, and if so, it's in the past tense. So for Zoe, I was thinking to myself, being like, maybe there's a chance that she never got bit, maybe there's a chance that she was only ever, like, punched or, like, slapped by the zombies, because we all know that's kind of like how the gameplay mechanics work. But on closer examination, I did find this. This is going to be one of the Sacrifice comic pages, and unfortunately, you can see on Zoe's one arm when she's getting checked out by the one military guy that there's a bite mark on her arm. So Zoe's bitten, unfortunately. So that is 2 survivors down out of the 8. So that's Lewis and Zoe. Now let's see about Francis and Bill. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how screwed is Francis? Well, I'm going to put that at an 11, because Francis doesn't get bitten in just any odd spot. Like, you see, I can give Zoe definitely the benefit of the doubt. She, if you got bit on the arm, at some point, if she was quick enough and smart thinking enough, she could have, like, just chopped off her arm. If Lewis, yes, even though he got cut on his abdomen eventually in due time, at least the initial part, like, because his injury with his hand happened first before the abdomen one, if he wanted to, he could also end up cutting off his hand. Francis is screwed because he's been on his neck. This is not, you can't decapitate yourself and, like, expect to live. That's just not gonna work. So, Francis, you're not only screwed, but you're also gonna be headless now. Cue the Francis line saying, I hate having a head. Now we move on to Bill. Now, we all know that, canonically, that Bill dies anyways during the sacrifice comic to sacrifice himself. However, though, if all the characters die prematurely, does Bill have a reason to sacrifice himself? It kind of, like, defeats the purpose. Because, like I said, you know, in this universe, if all the characters are not immune and they end up dying prematurely, then that means what's going to end up happening is that Bill has no reason to sacrifice himself, and Bill never really gets any injuries that I found that warrants him technically being infected or dead. The closest thing I could find was the sacrifice death. Maybe this too as well. This is when he's actually recovering from, you know, having like his like medications and like his anesthesia from his surgery, and he actually fought back against the zombified hospital staff, and he kicks this one zombie's face in, which he has his bare foot here, and he actually kicks this one zombie's like open, like, you know, lapsed jaw, and I'm not sure if he would have been able to like cut his foot open on the zombie's teeth, because the one bottom half of the jaw is gone, which would leave the top half exposed. So I'm not sure if he's ever explicitly injured, but this does at least end up making a what-if type of question within itself. So for Bill, I'm not going to say that he's completely safe, because it could be possible just as an angle thing, or it's never explicitly stated. But I am going to say he's not definitely screwed, unlike the other three. Francis, Zoe, and Lewis, all in the comics, get bitten at least once. Whether it be in the moment or, like, shown just, like, for the past sake, it's going to end up being basically just Bill alive. Which, the thing is, too, is that I think that this is kind of like an almost, like, opposite reality type of thing. Because instead of Bill being the only one to die, he's now the only one to live. Which is kind of funny, so good job for you, old man. You actually managed to live for once. Now, what about the Left 4 Dead 2 crew? How do they fare? Well, I'm just going to say this, is that it's not exactly what you expect. In fact, it's kind of the polar opposite of what it was for the Left 4 Dead 1 crew. So, for the Left 4 Dead 2 crew, there's not exactly going to be a official comic, other than technically the one from the Zombie Army trilogy, which I am just not going to count, because number one is that that's more of a crossover and more meant to be towards the Zombie Army trilogy's comics rather than the Left 4 Dead one, even though technically Valve did greenlight it, as far as I'm aware, but I'm just not going to count just because I'm pretty sure a lot of people are not going to count. They're going to look at it more as the Zombie Army trilogy type of comic, which I do myself. But the trailer, though, the intro trailer for the game, that's interesting, because the only one that remotely receives any injuries is just Ellis. I didn't even notice this until, like, just looking at the trailer recently. But every single other survivor, Rochelle, Nick, Coach, are pretty much fine. There's never a time that they are injured or cut open or bitten. But Ellis just gets screwed. He gets attacked by a jockey, he gets attacked by a charger, he gets strangled by the smoker and almost killed on the elevator. I mean, dude, this guy is so brutally screwed over in this trailer. It's actually kind of comedic how much that they're just bullying Ellis. And, yeah, so Ellis, I mean, other than the smoker thing, because technically I guess the smoker would be more like strangling him than infecting him, and same thing with the charger. The jockey specifically is definitely going to be the one that is the most worrisome, because the jockey just jumping on your face and clawing at your eyeballs, yeah, you're definitely going to get at least a cut. So Ellis is definitely screwed, at least in the jockey instance. However, though, the other survivors, I could not find a thing. So, it's funny. The Left 4 Dead 1 crew, the only one that probably ends up living is Bill, and the only one that dies in the Left 4 Dead 2 crew is just basically Ellis. So half the survivors live, but a majority of them are from the Left 4 Dead 2 crew, which I thought was interesting. So for the remainder of the Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 crews, who do I think would end up continuing to live, and who do I think would end up eventually also dying? So that leaves Bill, Nick, Rochelle, and Coach. Now, if these 4 survivors ever crossed paths and made a new team, where basically it was like Left 4 Dead 2 crew and Ellis was just Bill instead, how would they fare? Because technically, they do kind of go around the same general locations. Eventually, the Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 crews do meet, and Bill, even though he is past, you know, his body is still in the general area, so let's just say that, you know, they can form a new crew. Let's say that's the Left 4 Dead 2 crew, but they just swap Ellis with Bill. Now, would they live? Would any of them later on get infected? Well, here's the thing, is that all of them are going to be more likely to get caught sooner or later eventually. It's just inevitable, but is it really going to be like a long time or a short time before they get killed? In my opinion, I feel like that, yes, it could end up being very likely that they could all die very soon, but I think some of them will live. Now, even though I can't necessarily say for sure that any of them will live, I will say the one character that I do think will continue to live throughout the entire time of doing this, and that's just going to be Bill. Because not only do we have an example based off the comics that he is very resilient. I mean, the dude like fought off sleeping gas, which is not easy. That's a hard thing to do. Trust me, if you've ever tried to resist sleeping gas just for your own curiosity, it's not easy. That will knock you on your ass. And plus also too, this guy is like a really experienced fighter, you know, being a veteran, he knows what he's doing. Bill made it to the very end until he basically chose to die. And that shows you how resilient he is. Now, when it comes to Nick and Coach and Rochelle, it's mostly just that I'm unsure. I do have a lot of faith in them that they could do very well, and maybe they have like almost an unwritten path that they could take one day where they could show me that they are capable of being able to survive for a really long time, but I'm just going based off of prior gameplay and prior intros and trailers and comics and stuff like that. And even though that they all do have a very strong will to live, I just can't necessarily guarantee the confidence in them that I do have with Bill. So when it comes to the Left 4 Dead 2 survivors, I'm open to them surviving, and I do definitely believe it's possible, but in my head, for some reason, the only person I can see for sure living is Bill. Now, I do want to also address the idea that there is a chance that Bill still might have been infected somewhere else later on down the line that I don't know about. Maybe I might be forgetting a voice line, or maybe I might be forgetting something else that would be able to prove that he has been bitten before. I'd like to believe they all technically have been bitten before, and like I said, this is just kind of me just like thinking of some stuff for fun because this whole entire idea is completely fictional, but I am trying to base it off of the story, and I don't think that Bill's ever explicitly said that he's been bitten. But if you guys do have a instance where you can find something that is contradictory to that, I'd be more than happy to end up like updating this and maybe even having a possible like discussion going on. But all the characters I think have been injured at one point or another. But this is just the injuries that I found based off of the rules I said, where it's specifically bites and stuff like that. So you guys can let me know what you think about this idea and overall just this episode. Because, my friends, we are at the very end, so I hope you guys end up enjoying today's video. If you want to check out the prior episode of What If, I definitely recommend you check it out. It's going to be talking about what if there was no special infected in Left 4 Dead 2. Very interesting concept. I definitely recommend that you see it. And also, as well, in addition to that, guys, if you guys would like to financially support the channel, I tremendously appreciate if you guys could go check out my Patreon. It's always linked down below in all my YouTube video descriptions, or you guys could use supporter creator code BlackNinja797 in all caps in the Fortnite Epic Games item shops, because Epic is my very first sponsor, and they're sponsoring today's video, so shout out to Epic Games. Thank you, Jake Squid, for being a Patreon supporter. As always, my friend, I appreciate you, my G, and I hope you guys end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video for the most unique YouTuber you're ever going to see. Thank you for watching, guys. I love you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords, Jesus here, and you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too, and give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!